Welcome back. I'm so glad that you're here, and I hope you're having an awesome week. Today, I want to talk about what would happen if you could look at your day-to-day challenges very differently. So instead of you having these challenges that just weigh down your spirit and your soul, those feelings of like hopelessness and anxiety and fear and stress and depression, you know how they settle in here into your heart. What if you could hit a reset button and use the experiences truly as a growth opportunity? Now, I know what you're thinking. That's not possible, but it is 100% possible. Because what if you didn't just have to go through it? What if instead you learned how to adopt a mindset to grow through it? I will always remind you, we are all here in life school, and we are constantly navigating through all of our challenges. And sometimes the situations that we face, they make us feel incredibly uncomfortable, and they make us feel like we can't see the path forward. And then you know what happens? That just spirals you down into hopelessness. And as healthcare workers, if you can't see yourself being able to sustain that initial passion that drove you into healthcare, then you need to find new ways to heal your heart from those everyday experiences. So think about it. What if every single one of these difficult situations, these challenges that you face every single day, all the ones that you experienced during COVID and after COVID, and even probably last week, what if they were truly designed for you to learn something about yourself and how those experiences were meant to shape you deep down inside, and that those experiences were there to prove to you that you were designed to never give up, and that you would come back again and again, stronger and stronger. And that even though you had every single one of these experiences, as hard as they have been, it's to put you on a path that's going to make you stronger and wiser, and it's going to make you the best version of you. That healthcare worker that has that amazing superpower that's so incredibly powerful that once it grabs a hold inside of your mind and you really embrace that superpower, you become unstoppable. And what if these opportunities that were placed in your path were just there to prove to you that you have it in you to push yourself forward, and you have it in you when you feel like you are broken and you lack the strength and you just don't believe that you can push yourself forward? What if that was all for a reason? Listen, you shouldn't be sitting in the land of, why me? Why doesn't it happen to other people? Why does it have to be so hard? And listen, I'm going to be the first to tell you that I was guilty as charged. I did the same thing. I wrote it in my journal entries very clearly in those initial stories. I wrote how I was so upset with what I was going through when I was watching other people not having those same experiences. So I get it. But I want you to remind yourself that as part of your new daily practice and routine, you are going to prove to yourself and to everyone else around you that those experiences that happened to you were because they were necessary. See, for you to shift and move from a mindset where you are a victim, where those experiences happen to you and they are not within your control, to a new mindset where you use those experiences and you help yourself to grow through it. That is the secret. It reminds me of that saying, it's not about waiting in the storm or for the storm to pass. It's about learning how to dance in the rain. And I love that because I'm not telling you something that you don't already know. I mean, you give this type of advice to your patients every single day. Think about it. Those patients that are going through tremendous pain, suffering, and hardship. They're living with chronic diseases, illnesses, situations that they never could have imagined they encountered. So why is it that it's easy to give that advice to your patients to have faith and have hope and push yourself forward and you can do it? And you know that it's incredibly encouraging and you know that those words are meant to push that person to a point where they can actually create a new pathway ahead. But for you, why is it so hard to believe it for yourself? And I want to believe that, it's my personal belief that when you learn to do all of this, when you can achieve mastery with it, and I really mean shifting your mind to one where you recognize that it's going to be persistence and the grit and the determination and the hardship and relinquishing all of that control and trusting in something higher and greater, that's what's going to help you stay in the field of healthcare. It is 100% possible. And because you get it. You know firsthand how difficult hardship feels because you've experienced it. And you know that you can use your mind to overcome any self-doubt that prevents you from pushing yourself forward. And that's going to happen one step at a time. So I want you to think about this. Think about a time when you were in school. I know for me, when I was in nursing school, there were absolutely courses and programs that I had to do that for me was remarkably full of challenges. I remember there were times when I would be studying really hard for something that was complex, that it was just really difficult for me to master it. And I would find myself, in the bathroom crying after an exam, trying to figure out how I was going to push myself forward. And all of those feelings of self-doubt settling in, like I'm never going to make it. And then there were other times where I would take courses and I loved them and they came naturally and easy to me. And it felt like the effort that I had to put in didn't match the experiences that I had previously. So this is how it works in life school. We all have these experiences. I'm here to remind you that as humans, the one thing that we have in common while we're here in life school is that those experiences were put in place to see how we would fare, to help us wonder in our quiet, still silence, do we have what it takes to push us forward? Or are we going to be that type of person that's just going to give up? Are we just going to give in and settle in? And when you accept in your mind that the tough things that happen to you sometimes in life are just the best things for you, because it pushes you forward to learn and grow and practice over and over again, and to believe that you can do it. And this one little tiny chapter in your life that you have been going through in healthcare, it's one small, tiny chapter in your entire life story. it isn't going to affect your destiny, and it shouldn't. And you should be that person that comes to that realization that this is the work you were designed to do. Full stop, end of story. And it's going to be full of challenges because we're in the business of healthcare. Newsflash. I mean, if you really don't, if you think about it, your mind is really the only thing that you can change. There's not much in this world that you can change. There are so many things that are outside of your control. But within your mind, that is where the deep work is going to begin. And you've got to want it. You've got to want it really, really bad. You've got to want to fight for it. And you've got to learn ways to integrate that daily self-care that we talk about every day into your normal routine. Because you know what it's like. As a healthcare worker, we are terrible at this. We are constantly giving of ourselves and giving to people and giving to people and giving to people. Yet we are not refilling back up our spirits and our souls so we can continue to push ourselves forward. And as a result, this is why so many of us are working at a point where, it's near exhaustion. We're tired. We're exhausted. And when we crash, boy, do we crash. We crash really, really hard. And that is because we need to do better. This is our call to action. And I will tell you, it's time for change. Like, I am so ready for you all to get a reset and to find different ways to heal your heart. It just excites me. It gives me incredible hope for our future, because if it just affects one of you or two of you, and you find new ways to integrate this into your daily routine, and you find ways to really do the hard work and to look deep within and to become what you know you were destined to be, which is that healthcare worker. So I thought about this topic of growing through it and all of these challenges, and it made me think of this amazing book that I must have read. I want to say it was absolutely prior to the pandemic, so maybe around 5 or 6 years ago. It is this great work by Jacqui Phillips called Reset. And there are so many amazing things in this story. And I have to just say, I had the pleasure of meeting Jacqui at an event here in New Jersey. She actually was working the night to support a nonprofit organization called the Jersey Shore Dream Center. And I loved our conversations, and we talked about her book, and we talked about those experiences. And I was so moved by the vulnerability in this book that it just set in really deeply into my heart. And what I absolutely love about this book is that Jacqui talks about how she had this amazing career, right? She was a professional makeup artist to celebrities. She was a TV and radio host. She was an executive producer. She was used to spending her life learning how to make people beautiful. And she so beautifully and vulnerably shares how her life began to sort of spiral out of control. And that was because of toxic relationships and crushing debt. And she had, career loss. And it led, all of that hardship that she went through led to her, in a very quiet, soft, still silence, hearing this very loud lion inside of her roar, and was fighting to push forward because she knew she was worth it, and she knew she was capable and able to actually grow through those experiences. So I want to share with you what I think is some beautiful reflections from this work. And in the book, and it's actually the preface of the book on page 3, I really love how Jacqui says in the book, as you read, I want you to listen to your heart and your soul and identify what's unique about you and define the steps that you need to make next on your journey of discovery. I hope that this book helps you to realize the power that resonates in you. I hope it helps you find your why, and it will certainly help you learn to fly. And she also says in the book, when I realized that I was meandering through my purpose, my search turned into vision, which turned to a direct calling to do what I knew best: beauty, TV media, and writing from my heart. And I love that because it is so true when you think about all of these experiences. Everything that you have gone through during the pandemic, every single one of those experiences were meant for a purpose. And she also points out in this book, and I really, really love it, on page 22, she talks about looking at your own life first to get you secrets of what happened in your own family tree. And I think this is just extraordinary. She says on page 21, on the next few pages are 2 family trees. Imagine all the thoughts and the spirits I illustrate as people sitting on the tree. They are all part of your family. They're your DNA and they make up who you are. They're part of you and they have all been passed down to you. And she says, so the one tree that she has, she calls it the stronghold family tree. And this is where fear sets in. So she says, I want you to imagine fear as a person, as a member of your family. Once you meet your family member, fear, then fear introduces you to lack. Then lack introduces you to anger, and so on and so on. It's a constant flow of negative energy that builds up speed, and all of a sudden your life is one big bad tornado, a nightmare. These thoughts and these spirits live inside of your head, and they become real, and eventually they manifest themselves in its physical form. And then she talks about a second tree, which I absolutely love, which she calls the freehold family tree. And again, she reminds us that the good qualities, the things that we are all supposed to experience, the love, the joy, and the joy bringing you to faith, and faith bringing you to hope, and you feeling a life of peace, that is what you are meant to be. That is what your family tree should look like. And if you look carefully at that root system, if you really look and examine your root system, that's where everything grows from. That's why we have to examine it. Because if we spend no time here in life school willing to peel things back and look at things differently, we will never see the opportunity to get better and to grow through it. It's just not going to happen. And I love, love, love in the book how she talks about the trunk of your tree. And that is where your stability comes from. And she also talks about how when you look carefully at all of those fruits that are on your tree, these are the ones that we choose because it's a conscious choice. And if we treat our growth as sort of mission critical and we're willing to make change and look at things that are planted in our minds and our hearts, and we push that forward to become something even greater, then what will those fruits truly look like? It will be extraordinary. And so I love that in this work. And one of the other things that I think is so fascinating about her work, Jacqui's great book, is she talks very openly and honestly about these two sort of things that tend to hold us back here when we're in life school. And for her, these were really her opportunities to look at things differently. And I love, love, love this idea. So on page 19, she talks about the first series of experiences, which she calls these the profound truths. These are all the non-negotiable facts about yourself as a human being here in life school that you cannot dispute. I mean, these all are true. It's not like somebody can come in and they can say, that's wrong. You know, there are things specifically that she lists in this category, and then she gives you the space to write your own profound truths. So I decided I'm going to read some of mine that I wrote like over maybe 5 or 6 years ago. Because when I was preparing for this podcast, it was so interesting to look back and think about those profound truths and say, yes, those are truths, and I absolutely believe them. I wrote down, nothing will take me away from the love and joy of my children, right? Oh, I could just feel that. There's nothing that my children could do that would take that away, right? I love my husband, Greg, so deeply, and it's better than when we were first married. And that, again, is so true when you work really hard at things, right? That I was given this body for a reason to prove that I'm strong enough and that I can pull through, and that I will never do something that I don't love and that I'm not fully passionate about. And I'm so passionate about people, building them up and making them realize how great they are. And my past happened so that I can have the greatest future ever. And loving life is the best thing ever. Those all stand very firm in my heart. Those are truths that nobody can take away. They're 100% accurate, right? But I love in the book on the next page, on page 20, where Jacqui talks about these non-profound truths. And these are the stories that we tell ourselves in our head. This is where self-doubt creeps in and it finds a nice little resting place in our minds and our hearts. And it settles down deeply and it prevents us from growing and moving forward from our experiences. And I love these because I'm also going to share my profound truths that I wrote down all those years ago. So these were the things that I wrote down. I'm not smart enough or educated enough. I will never be fully financially sound. Fear will hold me back from achieving greatness. I'll never finish completing my degrees. Some people will still find fault in me and they will judge me. I will never be free of anxiety. I cannot wholly forgive people. My former religion is something that may hold me back from succeeding in life. So what I love about this work and what I think is so fascinating, as Jacqui lists all of these truths out, these are the stories that are embedded deeply into our minds and hearts. And when I look back at all of those profound truths, the funny thing is, so many of these are not accurate. They're not accurate at all. And so that is the beautiful thing about perspective. That is what I appreciate the most in this book, is when sometimes when you're living in the here and now and you're living in the difficult situations that you face as a healthcare worker, you're working hard, you're constantly pushing yourself forward. The work you do is so full of challenges and it's so exhausting, and you cannot find those opportunities where you can push yourself forward to that next moment. That might be your calling, that you need to grow through it, and that you might need to do some of this work and look at those voices and those things that you say to yourself and reframe that out so that that looks very, very differently to you. And I will tell you, I also love in this book how Jacqui has this beautiful quote on page 25, and I had it all highlighted in yellow with stars next to it. And she said, "I woke up one day and I realized I was functional, but not fulfilled. I was living, but not living well. I wanted all that to change." And boy, did that hit me like a ton of bricks, right? Because that is how so many of us are in the field of healthcare. This is how we function. We're going through the motions. It's kind of status quo. We're not allowing ourselves to use that superpower, that power of healing of other people to propel us forward to heal our own hearts from those experiences so that we can savor it and take it in and experience it and rejuvenate our spirit and our soul. It happens to even the best of us. And I never want you to forget that. And I know for me, one of the things that really stands out for me as a nurse educator is how much the trauma and the experience from this traumatic experience of serving during COVID has had such a profound psychological and emotional impact on the entire workforce. I mean, those experiences have really broken many people. I've talked to so many people that have had to leave the field of healthcare because they cannot see a way forward. And it's too hard and difficult to deal with the pain of all of those experiences. And I'm here to remind you that you can do it and you can push yourself forward to be the best version of you. So how can you do it? I mean, how did Jacqui do it? And how did she reclaim it all and become exactly what she wanted to in this world? There are so many great stories in this book of ways that she did it. But one of the things that I really love is she had these sort of 8 attitudes that she called it in the book. These were attitudes that she needed to embrace in order for herself to have a true reset. And I love it because they're meaningful to me, and I'm hoping that they're going to be meaningful to you. So some of them, the very first one is self-love. And I love, love, love how in the book she has this recognition that she has to embrace who she is with joy and satisfaction. And think about that. I mean, think about the work that you do. Are you capable and able to look inward at yourself and say, I deserve the joy and the praise and the satisfaction because the work that I do is meaningful and purposeful, and I heal people every single day. I make their lives better every single day. I mean, shouldn't you be worthy of it all? And I love that. And I've talked very openly about this. Listen, this is a hard one for me. I'm not going to sit here and say I haven't had my fair share of struggle with this. Of course I have. I'm a human being. We all have struggle. There is nobody out there that isn't experiencing struggle. It just looks different for different people. So for me, how did I change this? It was really talking to myself every day in front of a mirror and saying those loving and kind words to myself to sort of reframe out the way I was seeing myself. And I'm not going to lie to you, when you do it, it's going to feel very awkward and it's going to feel very strange, and you are going to feel like you're an imposter. And I'm going to tell you, this is where your faith comes in, and that you're going to trust and know that it is going to pay off. And when I say it's going to pay off, I mean it really is going to pay off, because you all deserve this. You deserve every single ounce of it. Her second attitude is, I deserve this. And I absolutely agree wholeheartedly. Of course we deserve it. We take care of people, right? And that is so incredibly important, to recognize that you deserve to have a life where you experience joy while you're providing healing. That is something that should just naturally happen to you. And it's not going to until you learn to create those practices and you learn how to experience joy even in those times of suffering. Number 3 is success. I love this, that she isn't anxious because she expects to succeed. And she recognizes that the secret to that is committing to her plans, right? And this book is really written from a faith-based belief system, which I love. But it is that belief and that strong faith that pushes her forward. Listen, you got to believe in something. So whether you believe in a higher power, or you believe in the universe, or you believe in yourself, just do it with faith in this belief system that you are remarkably made and you can do anything, because it's all possible. Number 4 is leadership. And I love this, because it's this recognition that I'm going to prioritize and lead myself first. She says, I will seek out others who have success areas where I want to succeed, and I will allow them to mentor me. Listen, I talk about this all the time in my sort of education and background, and especially in all the work that I did in leadership. There were preferences that did not come naturally to me. I was not good at them. And I learned very quickly to make sure that I was partnering with people that was what excited and motivated them. Because boy, when we worked together, we were unstoppable, because it was like both sides of the tree, right? I was working for my personal strengths, and my partner, who I would work side by side, we were working from that same point of strength. So you have to take time out every day for you. And if you don't take out time for yourself, what is going to happen is you are going to regret it. Life goes by so quickly. And if you're not finding those moments to lead yourself through the difficult times, it is going to be full of pain and hardship and disappointment. So give yourself that time. Give yourself permission. You 100% deserve it. I love number 5. It's on accountability. And for me, this is something I have practiced and really have felt that I'm coming somewhat close to mastery on, which is accountability, right? It's on some things I'm good at, like the professional side, absolutely. The personal side, the working out at the gym every day, I still got some work to do here. But this is about you taking your personal and professional goals and holding yourself accountable for your progress. See, if you just simply have dreams and hopes and wishes and you do not have a plan, they will just simply be dreams and hopes and wishes. So if you want to succeed in this world, if you know deep down you deserve this and you need that opportunity to just prove it to yourself, then take accountability. And that goes into number 6, which is ownership. You've got to own it all. The good, the bad, the not so good, the mistakes, the errors. And for me, this was a hard one to let go during the pandemic. Because as I've mentioned over and over again, in all of these journal entries, there are so many very clear examples of how there were things that I had to do as a nurse during those incredibly challenging early days where it really rocked me to my core. And it really made me wonder,
Was I really meant to be a caring and compassionate person here in life school if I felt like I couldn't even deliver compassionate care in the way I wanted to? And it happened to all of us. And we all have to accept that, and we all have to recognize that. Number 7 is faith. So we talked about this. Whatever you do believe in it wholeheartedly and have the trust that it's going to work out. And number 8 is a change of mindset. And I love, love, love this, because this is this recognition that your thoughts determine your reality, and that you must, she says in the book, actively examine your thoughts to make sure they are positive, healthy, empowerment, and they are in agreement with your dreams. And if you can change your mindset, if you can change the way you're looking at your situation, then anything is truly possible. And why do I think this is such an important lesson for all of us as healthcare workers? Well, number 1, I think it is you are never going to get to a point, because you chose a career that was intertwined with your DNA and it spoke to who you are as a person. And it's why you're here in life school doing this amazing, important work, right? So that's step 1. That's who you are. Right? And you have to accept that. But number 2, because you care for human beings who are going through difficult, challenging, painful, suffering, all kinds of chronic conditions, and they have to keep relying on someone to help support them, it can be extremely emotionally and mentally exhausting if you do not build in proper self-care. And I just believe wholeheartedly that COVID altered this for every single one of us. All of us who thought that we were doing the job that we were meant to do, and we had our good days, we had our bad days, all of a sudden overnight, that really strong, deep feeling of pain and burden and struggle and suffering, and this feeling that we can't seem to escape of hopelessness, it is still present. And it means that we have to fight, and we have to fight hard to get what we truly deserve. And for you, that is a life where you, as a healer, are doing the work you are designed to do. Listen, I hope you took something from this podcast. I truly hope that you learn to grow through it instead of just go through it. And I hope you listen in on a future podcast. Goodbye, everyone.